Hi, Neil. Oh, this is such an honor for me. You have no idea. As a giant fan of yours for years and years, I got to say it's been quite an eventful 24 hours. First we get this amazing bonus episode, and now Neil himself joining me for an interview, trying to keep my composure.
Doing very well.
Thank you. So, now that Dreams of a Thousand Cats was adapted from Sandman number 18 with Calliope, that was adapted from Sandman 17, but for the bonus episode, these were swapped around. I was wondering if there was a particular reason behind that.
Not really. We just, I think, felt it worked better that way. It's one of those things where I don't think we planned on a sequence. We just knew that our special secret bonus episode would contain both of those two. Mm-hmm. And we wrote, Catherine Smith McMullen wrote the scripts for Calliope and for Dream of a Thousand Cats. And the order was probably decided kind of toward the end, when we looked at it and we saw what we had.
Yeah. Well, Allan, I don't want to put you on the spot, but now that you've got this incredible cast, most notably Tom Sturridge, who's absolutely perfect as Morpheus, can you do me a favor and confirm that you're going to adapt every Sandman comic that Neil has ever written?
I wish that I could. I can confirm that we want to. Absolutely. And we'll see what the future holds for us. But that would be a pleasure. I would love to be able to do that. We would love to be able to do that.
Yeah. So I'm throwing it out into the universe. Assuming we get a second season. I'm not even going to say assuming. When we get a second season, I'm just putting it out there because I like to be a positive guy. What other particular standalone Sandman stories are you each eager to see adapted?
Neil, do you want to start?
I'm Midsummer Night's Dream. I really want to see that. Really want to see Ramadan. And I love the fact that one of the reasons I'm saying I really want to see Ramadan is because I don't know how we would do it. Would we move back into animation for that? Would we create a whole new way of storytelling? How do you indicate that you're in a story and a story world rather than in our reality? I think I would love, and one that I'm really excited to tell doesn't really have Dream in it at all, which is a story called Hobbs Leviathan, which is a hobgaddling on a tall ship out in the ocean story in about 1905, 1890s maybe. And I would love to see that story done, mostly just because I think 30 Kingsley's Hob is one of my favorite things on the screen. It was just such a glorious surprise in episode 6, how funny and grounded and human he manages to be while also being awful sometimes. And I'd love to see that character, just see more of him.
What about you, Allan?
I vote yes to all of those. I would add Parliament of Brooks to that list, which I hope we'll get to be able to do. And 3 Septembers in January. I would love to do all of World's End, actually, so if we could somehow manage it as its own miniseries, perhaps. But now I'm getting greedy.
No. I'll throw it all out there. That sounds great.
Yeah, let's do it.
I want to see Men of Good Fortune. That's anything that has Morpheus in different time periods. I've always loved those stories. I would love to see those adapted. Neil, speaking of bonus content, would you ever consider writing a script specifically for the series that's not adapted from any of your comics?
Yes, but I am also incredibly aware that we have an awful lot of, we've just covered in the first season, essentially the first 400 pages of, about 450 pages now that we've dropped 11, of Sandman, and we have 2,600 pages to go. So I don't look at this going, wouldn't it be fun to add something else in? I tend to look at this and go, we have a long road to travel with a lot of places that we have to stop on the way. And how can we get as much of the 75 issues of Sandman, of Dream Hunters, of Endless Nights, and then of Sandman Overture?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are things, everything that we've done knowing that in many ways the odds are against us getting to finish the story, but also knowing that if we do not plan to get to the end of the story, then we'll have things missing when we need to get there. And which is an incredibly familiar feeling for me, because when I was writing Sandman, I never knew if I was going to be able to get to the end of the story, if DC were going to cancel it, if something would happen. So it does feel kind of familiar.
Well, not that you need any ideas, but I would love a scenario where Dream meets the Beldam. Just have a Coraline Sandman crossover. I would love that. So, just think about it. Just let it simmer. Speaking of, will you guys be looking for more opportunities to adapt these stories utilizing animation instead of live action, in the future?
Maybe. It's incredibly expensive, so it ends up taking up a disproportionate amount of our budget for the time you get on the screen. But that may be how we end up doing Ramadan, if we're lucky enough to do Ramadan. I don't know. We'll see. We're gonna address each challenge as it comes time to address it. How about that? But I would love to.
Yeah, I love that answer. I mean, the animation for Dreams of a Thousand Cats was just, it's so good. I mean, you guys just nailed it. And I'm still sort of, I just watched it and I just found out 24 hours ago that this is even a thing that was happening. And so, it was beautiful to wake up this morning and know that I had that to look forward to. Neil, I do want to tell you, I don't want to spin too far off topic, but I want to tell you that Coraline did mean so much to me. It was one of the first movies I took my little boy to see. I would read the book to him. He would make me write poems about the Beldam because she just scared the shit out of him. So my question is, have you ever thought about revisiting Coraline or the Beldam?
What I've always said is that I wouldn't ever do a Coraline 2 unless I could come up with a story that was as good as Coraline 1.
Mm-hmm.
And so far I haven't come up with, actually, as good or better, because you just don't want to do one of those sequels that sort of feels like a made for video sequel. If you're going to do something, it needs to be a Toy Story 2 or a Godfather 2 level sequel where you're actually upping your game. So I absolutely wouldn't rule it out, but I would absolutely want to okay, that is the thing that is just even cooler than Coraline.
Yeah, I respect that answer so much, and but I am hopeful, fingers crossed, that you get that idea. Moving forward, other than Dream, if we get a season 2, which of the Endless would you guys want to spend more time with, and why is it Delirium?
Delirium is always, Delirium, I loved Delirium because she wrote her own dialogue, and most characters don't. Most characters, you have to sort of stare at the page and turn things over in your head and carefully type it out, and all I would ever have to do for Delirium is come up with a really good straight line, and then I just type what she said, and it's like, okay, this is great. There's a part of my brain that will always supply Delirium lines. So for me, she's just my favorite and an absolute delight. Having said that, there's also Kirby, Hal Baptiste, because she fills the screen as Death. She is absolutely there as lovable and as kind and as good as I'd ever hoped for my death to be. So I would love to see more of her as well.
Well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. I don't want to take up any more of your time. I appreciate you for a multitude of reasons. Today, you guys taught me how to properly pronunciate Calliope, which I don't think I'd ever said out loud before. So this was an absolute pleasure. Neil and Allan, thank you very much. And hopefully we get to talk again soon for season 2.
I hope so.